Yes, well, I made a documentary called Animation Outlaws, and it just goes over the course of their whole 40-year career in these festivals that they promoted.
And in doing a documentary, I mean, you cannot leave out, the history of animation. Either you got to build up to this, because animation was at one time clean cut and nice, and Disney controlled in a lot of ways. The what do they call them? The old men, at Disney. But animation has then become, in the 60s, I think it made that turn into political statements and telling people what we think. So tell me a little bit about that in discovering that evolution.
Well, the way I went about it was I actually used 65 clips of animation from their festivals.
Yeah.
And it does show we start with the classics, and then we go into the sick and twisted later years. But as we interview people, I interviewed Pete Docter, Andrew Stanton, Seth Green, and
sure.
They say we wouldn't be where we are now without the help of Spike and Mike.
Yeah, and Pete Docter, like you said, Andrew Stanton, even John Lasseter, all are your students in a way. So how proud you must be.
Yeah, first of all, I'm really proud of the documentary. She spent years in the making, an incredible amount of work and energy. But just to elaborate on the point, we go back also, when we first started, we didn't have enough content. So we'd use the Max Fleischers, the Betty Boops, the Supermans, the Popeyes. So then we showed Beavis and Butthead, and so we started making shorts of our own to have enough content. But yeah, we did John Lasseter's student films. We made 2 films with Andrew Stanton, 3 films with Pete Docter, creating all the ink and paint, the camera shoots, 35 millimeter, everything, to have enough content to do.
One of the great loves of my life, when people talk about animation and full-length movies, is not the Disney stuff. It is Max Fleischer who gave us Gulliver's Travels. It's in public domain now. You should see that movie. Yeah. It is the most beautiful hand-drawn piece of art I've ever seen.
Yeah, the Cab Calloway, Snow White.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's just surreal masterpieces. I mean, those are my favorites.
And it's nice that you kind of refer to those because that's a tip of the hat to those guys that created this industry. So tell me a little bit about your experiences here at Sundance.
Well, it's outside of the terrible Alaska flight last night, trying to wake up and come to life. We just got here hours ago.
Oh my gosh, and you visited us first. Great.
But when back at one point also going from the Fleischers, then we went into what kind of gave us the foundation for shows was Marv Newland, Bambi Meets Godzilla.
Yeah.
And then Will Vinton with the Clay, Closed Mondays, and then we found the National Film Board of Canada, and then evolved from there, eventually Wallace and Gromit, and so it's all these different tiers.
Sure. And there's a life for these things now on Adult Swim. We're seeing a lot of stuff going on there. But your work, though, I mean, that transcends generations. There are people that are discovering this stuff now that weren't even born when you started doing some of this stuff. How does that make you feel?
It's grand. I mean, it comes to mind, one of the greatest quotes we've ever had is from Jerry Beck, the animation historian. He's like, Spike and Mike came from nowhere with nothing and created a market where none existed. And that's one of the most profound quotes I've ever had in my life. And it means it's very powerful for me. And just the fact that, like I say, we had to produce a lot of these films.
Well, what is the genesis of Spike and Mike? Where did that come from?
Oh, wow.
We talk about in the film a little bit how you guys got together, and it was started with like rock shows that had animation before them, and maybe the band didn't show up, so these guys extended the animation.
Yeah,
we talked a little bit about that in the documentary.
Do you call that psychedelic animation? I mean, is that still a term that people use from the 60s and early 70s?
I don't know that one.
It's like the Keep on Trucking type type stuff.
Yeah.
And Rube Goldberg, the type of things he drew, and all of that. I mean, there's this kind of shorthand in some of that animation that other artists grew on as well.
There was one other thing when we first started. We're going out promoting, and the stigma was, what is it, cartoons? Everybody's like Bugs Bunny likes Bugs Bunny. And for years, we educated people, like films that take somebody 30,000 hand rendering
Yeah.
cells to 3 years to make. They're, bringing art to life, works of art, Academy Award winning shorts that so many icons have derived from those shorts.
It took the Academy a long time to recognize animation as its own category. God bless them that they did that, but it was 20 years too late for a lot of movies that just went unnoticed. And it's not competition, but you've got such great camaraderie in every country. The Russian animators, the anime, it's all got these wonderful voices, and they're all saying something. I just watched I Lost My Body, and what amazing animation that is.
For Academy Award.
One of my favorites also is, obviously Nick Parkwalls and the great Dutch anime Paul Driesen.
Oh gosh, yes.
Just incredible master.
Well, I am
Absolute
so honored that you're here. I mean, I literally am gushing, so that's why my questions are a little bit weird. But my gosh, you are royalty
Well,
in
thank you.
animation.
Well, I appreciate it. I
So
appreciate that.
I'll buy you some wings, I guess, as my tribute.
Very healthy eater, so.
So the Spike and Mike documentary,
Animation Outlaws.
Animation Outlaws, is it going to be released sometime after Sundance? Are we going to see it streaming?
Well, that's the plan. We'll see. We'll find out.
As I said before, Netflix is buying everything.
Thank you.
You're a shoo-in. Catch it. And how do they reach you if they want to just ask a question?
Well, animationoutlaws.com, and I have what do you call it?
A little contact
Email,
site?
yeah.
Yeah, animationoutlaws.com. Go to it. If you're a fan of animation, this is a great, great documentary to just kind of involve yourself in. And from what I hear, because Jeff, who just interviewed you, is such a huge fan, he says it is really immersive.
Yes.
It's
very
terrific.
nostalgic.
Yeah. So thank you, guys. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. It's such a pleasure to meet you. Again, you are royalty. And we'll be back after this.